boy sits in a classroom. On the board in narration, it says that this was love at first sight. A silver-haired girl walks in. Her beautiful, glittering silver hair catches attention. Her refined manners make her look elegant. Her gentle, clear voice stands out. Her cute smile feels warm and friendly. Everything about her draws people in. The girl speaks. She introduces herself as Charlotte Bennett and asks to be called Charlotte. She also says that she will be in his care. That is where this part ends. The boy is revealed to be Aoyagi Akihito. A friend talks to him and says they're lucky because a transfer student just joined right after summer break. Another boy is shown. He is introduced as Sionji Akira, Akihito's friend since elementary school and his partner in crime. They look toward the silver-haired girl. Someone wonders if she already has a boyfriend. They say she is so cute that she probably does. Akira tells Akihito to just ask her directly. Akihito is nervous. Akira jokes that all they can do is hope she doesn't have one. Akihito suddenly turns around and calls out to her. He loudly asks Charlotte if she has a boyfriend. Charlotte is completely caught off guard. Her face turns bright red as she freezes in place, clearly not expecting such a sudden and direct question. She repeats the words in her head, trying to process them. A boyfriend? Her hands tremble and her legs stiffen as the entire classroom focuses on her. Charlotte nervously covers her mouth, her eyes wide and flustered. After a short moment, she finally answers. She softly says that she doesn't have one. The boys in the classroom instantly explode with excitement. Teachers shout at Sionji for asking something so personal in public, but the damage is already done. Everyone heard her answer. The teacher suddenly steps in. She scolds Sionji for being loud during homeroom, then turns to Akihito as well, saying he's been talking too. The class freezes when she approaches. She places her hand on Sionji's shoulder, making him panic as he realizes he's in trouble. The homeroom teacher is revealed as Hanazawa Miyu. Miyu angrily points at Sionji. She tells him she will lecture him later, not just for what happened now, but for being noisy all day. Sionji desperately tries to defend himself, but she shuts him down, saying it's because he's too loud. While this is happening, Charlotte quietly watches. She gently covers her mouth, her cheeks still red, looking both shy and slightly amused by the chaos. Akihito sits quietly at his desk, still thinking about Charlotte. He reflects on how big the world really is, and how unbelievable it feels that a transfer student from England has suddenly appeared in his classroom. As Charlotte walks between the desks, he watches her from behind. In his mind, he can't shake the strange feeling that someone who looked just like her was never supposed to be part of his ordinary life. Break time begins. Sionji calls Akihito a traitor for suddenly acting different. Even so, he admits that Charlotte is amazing. Akihito awkwardly apologizes. Even at her age, she can speak Japanese so fluently. Akihito explains what fluently means, saying it's the ability to speak smoothly and naturally. Sionji seems impressed and says he understands. Then he points out something interesting. Akihito is also good at speaking English, so he wonders why Charlotte's Japanese feels so special. Akihito thinks for a moment and explains that it's not the same. For a Japanese person, learning English is one thing, but for an English person to learn Japanese, with its hiragana, katakana, and kanji, is much more difficult. That's why Charlotte's fluency feels so amazing. Akihito suddenly realizes something important. In such a short time, Charlotte has already been surrounded by other boys. He watches as one of them happily talks to her, not even noticing Akihito at all. Akihito quietly sighs at his desk. Meanwhile, Charlotte smiles brightly, clasping her hands together, enjoying all the attention she's receiving. As class ends, a group of students gathers around Charlotte. They invite her to hang out after school, even suggesting things like going to karaoke and throwing her a welcome party. More and more people join in, even students from other classes. Charlotte looks a little overwhelmed as everyone talks over each other. Akihito stands nearby, watching quietly. When someone calls out her name, Charlotte turns with a gentle smile and apologizes, saying her little sister is waiting for her at home, so she can't stay. The students quickly insist that it's fine and tell her she can bring her sister along too. Akira enthusiastically encourages her, and the others back him up. Charlotte begins to look troubled and unsure, not knowing how to respond. From a distance, Akihito notices her discomfort. He rubs his head nervously, thinking that while Akira probably means no harm, the pressure from everyone is starting to make Charlotte uneasy. Akihito finally speaks up. He tells everyone that tests start next week, so maybe this isn't really the time to be planning parties. He asks Akira to stop, and even tries to calm the rest of the class. But the room turns against him. Voices start flying at him from every direction, saying it's normal to throw a welcome party, that it's what the class wants, and questioning whether studying even matters that much. Someone even mutters that Aoyagi is the worst. Akihito realizes what's happening. He has gone against the group, and now he's being isolated. It's group psychology. When one person disagrees with everyone else, they become the target of criticism. Akihito understands that if things keep going like this, the situation will only get worse, even though he isn't on good terms with most of the class. Except for Akira. He knew this would happen. Still, he isn't worried about being disliked. What he wants is to stop the pressure on Charlotte. But here, in this classroom, that's impossible for him alone. Only one person can shoulder this burden. Akira suddenly steps forward and bows deeply, apologizing to everyone. He announces that the welcome party should be held after the tests are over. Hearing this, the mood of the class changes. Some students realize Akihito had a point. Akira is the one putting tests first. Charlotte listens quietly, and someone mentions that if they party now, it might hurt the class average, which would make Charlotte feel responsible. That makes the others hesitate. Akira smoothly turns it around. He smiles and says that after the tests, they'll throw an even bigger party to make up for it. That way, the welcome party will be even better. The class starts to agree, and the tension finally fades. As people begin chatting again, Akira walks over to Akihito and quietly thanks him. The crisis is over, for now. After class, homeroom teacher Hanazawa Miyu corners Akira. She grabs his tie and praises him in a sharp, teasing way, saying it was admirable how he tried to protect the class average, especially since he's usually the one who drags it down the most. Akira nervously laughs it off. Akihito appears, and Miyu turns her attention to him. She tells him that although she didn't come back because of him, he shouldn't look so scared. Then she drops a bomb. Akihito will also be punished in the morning. Miyu explains that she suddenly needed help, so she brought Akihito to the reference room. Akihito tells her not to scare him like that if she just wanted help. Miyu calmly explains that only Sion-ji was officially being punished, but Akihito was getting bad-mouthed by the class again. So, under the circumstances, bringing him here was a good excuse to pull him away from all that pressure. Miyu questions Akihito directly. She asks why he always chooses to play the villain, taking on the unpopular role by himself, even when everyone else is against him. Akihito realizes she saw everything. When he asks how long she had been watching, Miyu admits she had been there since before he stopped Sion-ji. She explains that teachers shouldn't interfere too much in student matters. So she waited, trusting that Akihito would handle it. And he did. Miyu admits that, honestly, she probably should have intervened earlier. But seeing how he stepped in, she now thinks it was the right call. Akihito, carrying a stack of books, says it's fine. He doesn't really mind. Miyu looks at him quietly, starting to realize just how kind and self-sacrificing he really is. Akihito quietly reflects that in this world, someone always has to be the sacrifice. Miyu immediately smacks him on the head with a book, telling him to stop talking like some tragic philosopher. She scolds him for lacking cooperation and warns that if he keeps thinking like that, he won't last long in high school. Miyu bluntly tells him she'll lower his grades. Akihito asks if being that unfair is really okay for a teacher. Miyu leans in close and says that if she weren't at least a little unfair, she wouldn't survive in this society. Akihito can only smile awkwardly, wondering what kind of adult she really is. Miyu snaps him back to reality, demanding to know what he's thinking. After leaving the school, Akihito walks home alone through the quiet streets. Miyu's words echo in his mind. Treasure yourself more? Okay. She had also called him a good student, and for once that stuck with him. Akihito looks up at the sky and quietly thinks that maybe he really should start valuing himself more. Suddenly, he hears crying from nearby. A small girl's loud sobs cut through the street. Akihito turns and rushes toward the sound, and there he sees her, sitting alone on the sidewalk, crying while crowds of people pass her by. She wonders if nobody is helping, because they can't understand her English. That's when Akihito rushes in. He kneels down in front of her and gently asks if she got separated from someone. Charlotte looks up at him, still teary-eyed. Charlotte suddenly panics and runs away, hiding behind a nearby pole. Akihito freezes, surprised, apologizing for calling out so suddenly. Peeking out from behind the pole, Charlotte quietly looks at him, trying to figure out whether she can trust him. Akihito carefully lowers himself to Charlotte's level, so he doesn't scare her. He introduces himself and gently asks her name. After a moment of hesitation, the little girl quietly answers, Emma. Akihito repeats it kindly and asks where she got separated from Lottie. Emma suddenly panics again, shouting that Lottie is gone. Akihito realizes he has to calm her down first, before he can get any useful information. Thinking fast, he looks for something that might make a child feel safe. Then he notices the small hair clip in Emma's hair and uses it to get her attention. Akihito shows Emma a picture of a kitty on his phone. Her face instantly lights up. She grabs the phone with sparkling eyes and excitedly says she loves cats. Akihito realizes he found the perfect way to calm her down. As Emma smiles, Akihito quietly notices her silver hair and gentle face, starting to connect the dots about who she might really be. Akihito gently asks Emma to say her full name. She proudly answers, Emma Bennett. Encouraged, Akihito suggests they go look for Lottie together. In his mind, he realizes the truth. Lottie is actually Charlotte Bennett, Emma's older sister. Emma happily agrees, now trusting Akihito enough to go with him. Akihito asks if Emma is ready to go. She looks up at him, hesitates for a moment, then suddenly reaches out. With a bright smile, she offers him her hand. Akihito is caught off guard, but he understands. She wants to feel safe while walking. Emma happily grabs his hand and starts walking with him, but she quickly gets distracted, staring at cats on Akihito's phone while walking. Akihito gently warns her that it's dangerous to only look at the screen. Before he can react, Emma lets go and reaches for the phone again, leaving Akihito confused as she starts focusing on something new. Emma suddenly stops in the middle of the street and raises both her arms toward Akihito. She quietly says up. It's clear what she wants. She's tired, and she wants him to pick her up. Akihito hesitates for a moment, knowing people around them might stare. But seeing Emma's teary, pleading eyes, he gives in. He gently lifts her into his arms. Emma immediately relaxes, smiling happily as she clings to him, feeling safe. With Emma in his arms, Akihito continues walking down the street, carrying her forward as the afternoon quietly goes on. Akihito carries Emma into the school building, where a teacher with a ponytail notices them. She walks over and asks what happened. Akihito explains that he found the little girl crying on the street, all alone. The teacher kneels down and gently asks her name. Emma softly answers that her name is Emma. When the teacher asks if she knows what a teacher is, Emma looks confused and clings tighter to Akihito. Akihito tries to explain in a simple way, telling Emma that teachers are people who help you learn. He gently pats Emma's head, praising her for being smart. Emma beams happily from the head pat, completely relaxing in his arms. But suddenly, the teacher rushes in dramatically, shocked to see Emma being cuddled so closely by Akihito, making the moment awkward and funny at the same time. Akihito sits in the staff room with Miyu-sensei while Emma sleeps quietly on the sofa beside him. Miyu-sensei calmly pieces everything together. She realizes that Akihito assumed Emma was Charlotte's little sister and brought her to school for safety. But in reality, Charlotte had already called the school earlier, saying her sister went missing after she got home. Miyu-sensei reveals that she already contacted Charlotte and everything is being handled. Akihito is impressed. He realizes Miyu-sensei was already one step ahead of him the entire time. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Charlotte rushes into the room in a panic, crying out Emma's name. She looks terrified, afraid she lost her little sister forever. Akihito and Miyu-sensei turn in shock as Charlotte desperately searches the room for Emma, the tension instantly rising. Miyu-sensei calmly points Charlotte toward the sofa. Emma is there, fast asleep, curled up under a blanket. Charlotte freezes when she sees her little sister safe. All the fear and panic she had been holding back finally drains away. The moment the tension leaves her, Charlotte's legs give out. She stumbles forward, overwhelmed by relief. Akihito rushes to her side and catches her hand before she falls. Charlotte apologizes weakly. Charlotte finally comes face to face with Akihito. She bows deeply and apologizes for being sweaty and disheveled, clearly embarrassed after running all over town looking for Emma. Akihito quickly waves it off, telling her it's nothing and that anyone would look like that after desperately searching for their little sister. Charlotte looks up at him, still flustered but relieved. Charlotte shyly thanks Akihito for helping her when she was in trouble. She tells him he seems like a reliable and kind person. Akihito instantly turns bright red from the compliment, completely flustered. Miyu-sensei teasingly points it out and even threatens to take a picture of his red face. Panicking, Akihito blurts out that since Charlotte is here now, he's going home. As he turns to leave, Emma softly calls out to him, stopping him in his tracks. Akihito tells Emma that since Lottie is here now, everything is okay and he's going home. Emma looks up at him, confused and a little worried, not wanting him to leave. Before she can say anything more, Charlotte rushes in and happily calls out Emma's name. Emma instantly brightens up and jumps off the sofa. Charlotte notices how closely Emma was clinging to Akihito earlier. With a gentle smile, she remarks that Emma seems very fond of him. Akihito awkwardly admits it might be true, clearly flustered. Charlotte then leans forward and softly says his first name, Akihito, showing that she remembered it. Hearing his name from her makes him even more embarrassed as their connection becomes a little more personal. Charlotte kneels in front of Emma with a playful smile. She suggests that Emma should call Akihito Oni-chan, a friendly way for a younger child to address an older brother. Akihito instantly realizes what Charlotte is trying to do and gets flustered, while Emma looks curious and tries to repeat the word. Charlotte gently corrects her pronunciation, guiding her slowly. Emma suddenly lights up. With a big, happy smile, she loudly calls out, Oni-chan. The word hits Akihito like a shock. He freezes in pure embarrassment as Emma beams proudly, clearly delighted by how happy it makes everyone. Charlotte gently tries to pull Emma away, telling her that it's time to go home. But Emma refuses to let go of Akihito's hand. She shakes her head and loudly says no, insisting that she wants to stay with Oni-chan instead. The situation quickly turns into a tug-of-war, with Emma stubbornly clinging to Akihito while Charlotte tries to reason with her. Akihito can only watch in panic as the small girl refuses to budge. Emma suddenly puffs up her cheeks and shouts that she wants to go home with Oni-chan. Charlotte freezes in shock, completely stunned by what she just heard. Miyu-sensei watches the scene quietly and finally understands what's happening. Akihito completely panics and blurts out that there's no way he can take Emma home. Miyu-sensei, however, just smiles confidently and gives him a thumbs up, telling him it's fine and he should just take her. Akihito tries to argue that even if he did, Emma would just throw another tantrum on the way. Miyu calmly points out that it all depends on how he persuades her. then encourages him to just go home together with Emma and see what happens. Akihito is left confused, while Emma quietly calls out his name. Charlotte suddenly turns to Akihito, blushing nervously. With her hands held close to her chest, she softly asks if it would be okay for him to come home with them. Akihito freezes in shock, unable to believe what he just heard. The situation has just become far more complicated than he ever expected. Charlotte bows deeply in front of Akihito, seriously begging him to walk home with them. Akihito completely freaks out, asking if she's really serious. Inside his head, everything turns into chaos. Going home alone, going home together, walking with a beautiful girl, none of it makes sense anymore, and he can't keep up with the situation at all. Overwhelmed, Akihito finally gives up thinking and just accepts it. With a tired sigh, he tells Charlotte he understands. Charlotte's face immediately lights up with relief and gratitude. She softly thanks him and gently suggests that they should go home now. Akihito picks up his bag, still feeling like this is all some kind of unreal dream. Charlotte smiles warmly at him, making his heart race even more. But before they can leave, Emma suddenly spreads her arms wide and steps in front of them. She grabs onto Akihito's arm tightly, staring up at him as if she's trying to say something important. Emma suddenly steps forward and blocks Akihito, clearly upset. Akihito sighs like he expected this and quietly says he knew it would happen. Charlotte kneels down in front of Emma and gently takes her hands, asking her to just walk home calmly. She explains that causing trouble would only make things harder for Akihito. Emma hesitates, taking a small step forward, but her face tightens and she starts shaking her head. Emma's eyes fill with tears, and she begins to softly cry, looking unbearably sad and lonely. Charlotte panics and rushes toward her, insisting that it's not what she meant. Akihito quickly steps in and offers to carry Emma if that will make her feel better, awkwardly adding that he won't if she doesn't want him to. The situation grows even more emotional as Emma clings to him, refusing to let go. Charlotte feels guilty for causing even more trouble and quietly apologizes to Akihito. Akihito reassures her that he's fine with it and gently pats Emma's head, saying it would probably be faster if he carried her. Emma immediately brightens up, smiling happily in his arms. Seeing that, Charlotte finally relaxes and agrees to it. The three of them start walking together. Akihito awkwardly admits that, honestly, carrying Emma feels more like a bonus than a burden. Charlotte apologizes again and promises she'll have a serious talk with Emma when they get home. But even so, Charlotte can't help smiling warmly at Akihito, telling him that he's really kind. Emma clings tightly to Akihito, still not fully understanding what's going on, but clearly enjoying being with her Oni-chan as they head home together. As they walk home, Charlotte thanks Akihito sincerely and compliments how good his English is. Akihito feels a little embarrassed and says they can just speak English from now on. He then tells Charlotte that her Japanese is just as impressive and asks how she learned it. Charlotte explains she was taught by her parents. Emma suddenly pops in happily, proudly saying that she also wants to speak Japanese. Akihito smiles and reassures Emma that she'll be able to speak it too someday. That instantly makes Emma excited and happy. Without warning, Emma suddenly leans forward and presses her face against Akihito, clinging to him affectionately. Akihito is caught completely off guard, while Charlotte watches quietly from the side. With an awkward smile, Akihito compares Emma to a playful little cat as she keeps sticking close to him. Charlotte notices how close Emma is clinging to Akihito and quietly admits she's surprised by how attached Emma has become. She explains that Emma is usually a very difficult child and never acts this spoiled toward anyone outside their family. Akihito gently strokes Emma's head, calling her a friendly kid, while Emma smiles happily in his arms. Curious, Charlotte asks him how he managed to make Emma so attached to him. Akihito awkwardly admits the truth. He just showed Emma some cute cat videos. Charlotte freezes for a moment, then remembers that Emma absolutely loves cats. Even so, She can't believe something that simple made Emma cling to him this much. After a short, thoughtful stare at Akihito, Charlotte suddenly smiles and points at him, declaring that he really is a kind person. Akihito is caught off guard by the sudden compliment. Charlotte explains that the real reason Emma became so attached to Akihito is simple, because he's genuinely kind. Akihito looks confused, not really understanding why she says that. Charlotte smiles brightly and confidently agrees with herself, saying it again as if it's obvious. As they keep walking, Charlotte suddenly starts acting shy and distant, covering her face in embarrassment. Akihito notices and asks why she's pulling away from him. Charlotte, clearly nervous after seeing her reaction, he apologizes to her by saying he must have made her to get uncomfortable by acting close to her. After saying it, he goes on by getting gloomy. But Charlotte still looks troubled, worried that she's done something wrong, as the awkward tension quietly grows between them. Charlotte fidgets nervously, her face bright red as she admits why she suddenly felt embarrassed. She remembered how sweaty she got from running earlier. She quietly panics, thinking Akihito might notice and feel uncomfortable. Akihito, meanwhile, can barely think straight because he finds her way too cute. But for Emma, she is jealous because he is falling for Charlotte rather than herself. They finally arrive near Charlotte and Emma's home. Charlotte politely thanks Akihito for everything he did today. Akihito brushes it off, saying there's no need to thank him, especially since helping Emma was just coincidence. Charlotte insists, saying she's grateful not just for Emma, but for how Akihito stood up for her as well. Akihito replies honestly that it's fine to invite people, but it's not right to force them, gently hinting about what happened earlier. Charlotte walks beside Akihito and gently asks him to forgive Akira for what happened earlier. She explains that she really was happy when she heard about the welcome party and never meant for things to turn bad. With teary eyes, she apologizes, saying that because of her, Akihito ended up looking like the villain. Akihito calmly tells her not to worry about it. He simply did what he wanted to do. Hearing that, Charlotte softly calls him truly kind once again. Charlotte steps forward, placing a hand on her chest and reaching out toward Akihito with a warm smile. She tells him that she hopes he'll accept her feelings of gratitude. Akihito, still holding Emma, shyly nods and says he understands. Charlotte smiles brightly, satisfied, as the quiet, heartfelt moment settles between them. They stop in front of Charlotte and Emma's apartment building. Charlotte nervously asks Akihito if he would like to come inside for a moment. Akihito, still holding Emma, hesitates but agrees. After saying it, she started to grin happily while walking behind him, which somehow made him to get suspicious about her. Afterwards, he looks at a door and points it out by saying it's his home. Charlotte takes out her key and cheerfully announces that she's opening the door. To Akihito's surprise, the door is already unlocked. Charlotte casually laughs it off, acting like it's no big deal, while Akihito stands there confused, holding Emma as the entrance opens in front of them. Charlotte finally reveals the truth. She peeks out from her apartment door, holding her key with a shy little smile, and tells Akihito that she actually lives right next door to him. That's why everything today felt so strangely close. Akihito freezes as it hits him. So this is what his teacher meant about getting involved with your neighbors. Charlotte gently takes Emma back into her arms, apologizing for suddenly leaving her with him, but thanking him for everything he did. As the sun sets and the hallway grows quiet, a heavy feeling settles in Akihito's chest, because now he understands meeting Charlotte and Emma wasn't just a coincidence, and whatever just began between them might not be as simple as it seemed. Charlotte stands in Akihito's doorway, smiling and saying, "Pardon the intrusion." Akihito, wearing casual clothes, gestures for them to come inside. Emma waves and also says, "Pardon the intrusion." Akihito looks nervous as he lets them in. Emma runs into the room, while Charlotte slowly steps forward and looks around. Charlotte says, "So this is a boys' room?" Charlotte explains she answered Akihito's intercom at night, because Emma wanted to see him. She also says Emma insisted on playing with him instead of sleeping. Emma asks Akihito to move his hands. Emma then pats the table and asks him to sit there. Emma suddenly hugs Akihito tightly while smiling and saying, "Eh." Akihito looks shocked and calls out her name. Emma cries and calls Akihito Oni-chan. Charlotte kneels beside her and tells her not to cause more trouble for him. Emma says Charlotte is being mean. Akihito laughs awkwardly and says he isn't bothered. Akihito says he isn't bothered and tells Charlotte she can sit wherever she wants. Charlotte thanks him and asks if she can sit too. Charlotte says Akihito is very kind. Akihito says he really doesn't mind. Charlotte moves to sit on Akihito's legs, and Akihito reacts in shock. Akihito quickly says she can sit anywhere she likes. Charlotte gets flustered and says she meant sitting on the floor. Charlotte sits down across from Akihito at the table. Akihito thinks to himself that he is glad they're sitting across from each other. Emma sits close to Akihito and says she wants to play. Akihito asks her what she wants to play. Emma says she wants to play with Oni-chan. Charlotte thinks Emma is saying that anything is fine as long as it's with him. Akihito asks Charlotte what Emma usually plays. Emma answers yep. Charlotte says Emma has been into dominoes lately. Emma says domino. Akihito says he doesn't have any dominoes. Charlotte stands up and says she will get them from her room. Akihito says Charlotte is nice. Emma says she really likes Charlotte. Charlotte places a box of dominoes on the table and thanks them for waiting. Akihito invites Emma to play, but Emma looks unhappy. Charlotte notices this and suggests Emma might not feel like playing dominoes. Emma suddenly spreads her arms and asks Akihito for a hug instead. Charlotte explains that Emma just wants to watch the dominoes fall, while Akihito sets them up. Akihito doubts it at first. Charlotte says Emma prefers this style and starts tapping the dominoes together. Emma gets excited and watches closely as Charlotte explains that Emma wants Akihito to arrange them for her. Charlotte and Akihito are sitting behind Emma while the dominoes are being lined up. Charlotte places pieces carefully and Emma watches closely. Emma turns her head toward Akihito, and when he looks back at her, she gives him a bright, happy smile. Charlotte laughs and says that Emma and Akihito get along really well and that Emma hasn't had this much fun in a long time. Akihito admits he can't help but spoil Emma because she's so cute. Charlotte agrees and says she's glad Emma has an Oni-chan to spoil her too. They finish setting up the dominoes and get ready to knock them down together.